But there was a young group in Sligo by the name of Rainbow Starlight, and they released a new song today on YouTube, and it's called Brigid of the Flame. And they didn't realise until today, after they shot the video, that there was a cloak in Ballina. They had searched the length and breadth of the country for a cloak. So now it's on YouTube. It is called, as I said, Brigid of the Flame. It is 5 minutes long, so I'm not going to play it all. I thought if I played a bit of it while they were bringing in Brigid to our seat. And we have Reverend Clive Moore here, and Father Aidan is on his way in as well. So I'll introduce you. The songs and the music probably isn't very loud. So again, you're all very, very welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, Father Aidan, Reverend Clive Moore, thank you so much for coming along here this evening to join us. When Jane muted this with the Ballina Costume Company, before St. Brigid's Day was given its bank holiday last year, she didn't stop with just mentioning it, as you can see. Sometimes here in the Jackie Clarke, I think we feel like frauds because all the work is done through the Ballina Costume Company and we host them here. But the amount of work that they do is just unbelievable. The Jackie Clarke collection and the Ballina Costume Company came together many, many years ago. And to say that we joined as a forceful team would be an understatement because the projects that we have brought to the town and the amount of people that we've had involved with us is just really heartwarming. It really, really is. Bringing us back to the first quilt we ever put together, and poor Marie Tuffy that sat here, she's the face of that every time we put it up on social media. But that was the Mayo Forgotten Famine Girls. And at the time, I don't think Jane we ever probably topped that because people had come from Australia and they'd come from all over the world, not actually the kind of person, but they had taken a piece and they had written or embroidered the name on. And it was such a heartwarming project. And then we realised that if we came together, we had a great group of people around us that would come in and support and give their time. And I have yet to see any crafter walking here that isn't smiling or isn't happy to be here or isn't delighted to be here, and it's really, really just lovely. The Jackie Clarke collection and the Ballina Costume Company came together last year to put together behind the, probably, sorry Leo, I'm pointing at you, but just behind you there, a tapestry of Irish history, and that was done by the refugees that were here in Ballina. And at the time, we were approached with the Ballina Costume Company to host the project here. But of course, Jane being Jane is all about inclusivity, and Jane is now one of my best friends. She'll probably never talk to me again after this evening, but I really don't care because Jane Crane needs this tonight, she really does. But Jane said, no, hold on a minute, yes, we have Ukrainians here in Ballina, but we also have Syrians, Palestinians, Burmese, the Korean community, and I hope I'm not leaving out anybody else. And Jane says, we'll do that project if everybody comes together. And they did. And to bring those people into our hearts and to bring those people into our space was just absolutely fabulous. And as a result, we have this beautiful tapestry of Irish history. Jackie Clarke and Anne Clarke, none of us would be here this evening without their generosity of donating Jackie's life collection to the people of Ballina, the people of Mayo and the country of Ireland. And that's the tagline that the late Anne Clarke put on it. And Anne Clarke would have been so happy to be here. And Gay, I hope you don't mind me singling you out. I think it really, she was so happy. She loved people. She loved to see the gathering of people here together in the Jackie Tark. It just made her day. And then she loved the post-mortem after. Did you see such a one came? And we'd never seen such a one before. And she just loved it. So we can never ever forget that that's the reason why we're all gathered here, because of the generosity of two people here in this town who are community people, who love the community, who love their town, and as a result, we're all community people here. And even though it's written into something I'll read shortly, but we were named as the second best town in Ireland to live in during the week. But I swear to God, if they had seen this when they were doing their adjudication, we would have definitely been the best in the town. So, what we're going to do is start off this evening by asking Jane to say a few words. Now, just before I do, the Balmac Costume Company, I think it's very, very important that we all realise and we all know there is a Balmac Costume Company or a costume company in every other town around. We have something very, very unique here in Ballina, and it was set up in, I think, partnership at the time with the Ballina Salmon Festival, and has gone from strength to strength. But Jane and Valerie and Biba and all the other fabulous, fabulous women that work in the costume company, they work very, very hard to keep that costume company going and to keep it opened in the town. So if you're ever having a party, or if you're ever having a gathering, or if you're ever having anything, always remember the Ballina Costume Company. They need the support to keep the doors open as well. And it's the likes of this project that kind of brings awareness to people as well. This time with this project, we had so many faces returning to get involved. But we had new faces that came, and that was so important to us. Fabulous women that came in, and whether they came in and left their squares or whether they came in and got a job of stitching it together, it was just so heartwarming to see. And I hope you'll remain great friends of the Jackie Clarke Collection and the Ballina Costume Company, because I'm sure there'll be other projects kind of moving forward. So I'm going to invite Jane up first to say a few words about the cloak, and we'll move on then with proceedings, if that's okay. Hi to everybody.
Anne-Marie said it all, I don't need to say anything else. And she makes it sound like it's me that done this. I didn't do it. Everybody around this room and hundreds more people do it. There's well over 100 people that was involved in doing this square. People came as far as Balmullet. The youngest person that done it was 10 and the oldest was 95. So it truly is a huge thing. We had a phone call. I was laughing yesterday when Marie and we were up in the room. My phone rang and it was someone from America. I said I had no rich relations, that's not anybody. So I didn't answer the phone, needless to say. And I got a message last night from someone from America who said they'd seen it on Facebook and wanted to know could they do a square and send it. So I mean, you know, community is everywhere. She said she's originally from Ireland, I don't know where. I haven't messaged back to her yet. I will do. Listen, to each and every one that's here in the room and to everyone that couldn't make it tonight, thank you so much for getting involved in this project. As you can see, it has turned out a lot of blood, sweat and tears now by the same to get it together, but it has come out truly fabulous. And it's a credit to each and every one of you, so thank you very much. That's me finished.
To you. If anybody wants to butt in or add in, please do, because I never myself knew much about say Brigid, but I have been looking up various different bits and pieces about her, so if there's anything that anyone wants to add, just stop me, and if I'm not making sense, my youngest son will tell you I confuse the saint, stop me as well and ask me to go back over it. So a bit about St. Brigid. So records date back to the 9th century, around the year 800. But written records on St. Brigid can be identified about 200 years before that time. But as everybody knows, we have a very strong oral tradition of telling stories. So likely they reckon that story goes back a lot longer, which is identified in another piece I will read at the end. 9th century from Cormac's glossary says, Brigid is the daughter of the Dagda, who was a god in Irish folklore. He was the King of Ireland at one stage. So Brigid was associated with poetry, smith crafting, which is also known as a blacksmith. Are you okay? Yeah. She's also associated with protection of animals and with healing. She was also known in folklore, would you believe, as a triple threat, or a Deada, if I'm saying it right, which is also a god or goddess. In Cormac's glossary, she is referred to as being three people. So, being three people in one, or some say there potentially was three sisters, that they were all called Brigid. That must have been fun at tea time. However, it's believed, if you read on, that there was only one person. Brigid was a poet, Brigid was a blacksmith, but Brigid was also a healer. Known as Brigid the poet was very unusual, as it was usually men around that era who would be known as poets in Ireland. Poets in ancient Ireland would have been seen to have a very important role in society, because they wouldn't have been penning romantic poems. They would have been calling out leaders into account, calling out kings into account, and could be very political, calling out just for the sake of calling the rulings to be done, and delivering strong words and curses if their accounts weren't taken into account. Brigid the blacksmith isn't recorded as well as Brigid the poet, but blacksmiths would have had their own healing powers as well as curing powers themselves. So she would have been like any woman and let them do it themselves and leave them to it. Brigid, they reckon, had a son, quoted in the 11th century folklore, called Rudon. This was all pre-Christianity. Christianity then claimed Brigid to become Saint Brigid. We are told it can be quite confusing, even though all the folklore said it was written by Christian monks. And whether they believed it or not, they still honoured the stories by writing what they were told to write. But Brigid was acknowledged as someone who should and would go on to be Saint Brigid. The Christian side, she was born 1500 years ago today, to a slave mother and a chieftain father. She was always be renowned for her compassion, her dedication to the poor, and there are many, many stories written about her love and compassion to others. St. Brigid's cross was created by St. Brigid to demonstrate to a dying man the cross of Christ. The story goes that on his deathbed, upon hearing this story, he converted to Christianity before he died. So that's a brief telling of St. Brigid and who she was. If anyone in the room has anything to add, please do. We'd be delighted to hear about it. When we're talking about the St. Brigid State Crosses, there's some of them here, there is a young gentleman outside the door called Austin Burke. Austin Burke. And Austin is raising funds to the Lourdes Trust Fund. So it's to bring young, sick children and teenagers from this area to Lourdes, and they have to raise all the funds themselves to do that. So you don't have to buy a cross, just a donation. We just thought it would be a lovely idea to invite you here this evening, and if anyone has a few euros to throw it in, it can go to a really, really good cause. So on that note, I want to introduce Father Aidan and Father Reverend Clive Moore to formally bless the cloak. So we get the ladies to stand her up again and come along and bless it. So whichever way you'd like to go. Yeah.
First of all, delighted to be here. Wonderful to be invited to be here. Wonderful to be here with my father in. I'm disappointed for my boss, the Rector, Reverend Alex Moore, and his wife is here, but he is away on retreat. So we'll allow him that, but he'd be so sorry he missed that. And also my other colleague who would have been here, Caroline Morrow, it would have been absolutely appropriate that Reverend Caroline would be here. Her second name is Brigid, and she would love it. Unfortunately, she sent her apology to you, and she just couldn't get out of it. In the Church of Ireland, we might have a slightly different take on saints, but believe it or not, we're very much into our saints in the Church of Ireland. We see them as wonderful examples of living Christian lives, living in the abundant life with God, ourselves, and others. And it's all very important to us. And I like the idea of all these threads and strands weaving together, coming together into this kind of a cloak, and this coming together of all the strands of our communities, of all faith traditions, and being community together. We are blessed in our commandments, and we're commanded to be in community with each other. And on myself, Aidan's behalf, I think we're delighted to be here. If Aidan said to me, what are we to do? Are we to say a few words together, or are we to say it separately? And I said, we'll do what we're told.
Whatever you're happy with.
I don't want to you asked me, there is a whole liturgy from the Church of Ireland for St. Brigid. Not going to do that. But there is a piece at the beginning of it, and it says, the lack of any writings by Brigid or any contemporary means that much is written about her includes pagan elements from a pre-Christian Celtic pagan mother goddess who had a similar name. So it all ties in very much to what you were saying. And it says, later Christian hagiography found it difficult to disentangle truth from legend. What we can be sure of is that Brigid was a remarkable person, and through the grace of God, gave unique leadership in her own troubled times. A roll call of the saints of the Celtic Church in Ireland is male-dominated, so that the honour place given to Brigid of Kildare is itself testimony to her leadership qualities. And as I myself and Aidan look, blessed amongst women, I think we echo those sentiments. Very well, I say too much. Carry on.
Just on my own behalf, a word. I'm delighted to be here with Clive this evening. St. Brigid lived many centuries before those small differences arose in the church in the 16th century, which has led to Clive and myself being here representing different denominations. So it's nice that the two of us can be here this evening and to witness together to the faith that we all hold important in our lives. And to thank Jane for coordinating the beautiful cloak. And I'm sure you know the lovely story behind the cloak, another example of woman power when she was in a little dispute with the chieftain. And the chieftain kind of thought he had her in a corner, and she was looking for some land from him. And she said to him, look, I'll take whatever piece of land my cloak covers. I'll be happy to start my monastery with that. And of course the chieftain says, fine. They shook hands on that agreement, and as the cloak was placed on the ground, the story goes that it spread out and covered the couple of acres. So as a famous Taoiseach said one time, that's women for you. So that was the start. That was the start of Brigid. And Anne-Marie gave a lovely overview of her life and some of the different qualities that are at the heart of Christianity. The one for me that I think is most important right now and that we associate with St. Brigid is her hospitality. That was something she was believed to have been known for, that she practiced in her own life personally and then through her own sisters and the monastery she founded. And in particular, it wasn't just hospitality, but it was particularly hospitality to the stranger. And given the world we live in today, and given our own country and some of the great challenges we all have. What greater virtue maybe to hold before us this evening from the life of St. Brigid, other than that great quality of hospitality to the stray. So let's pray tonight that in the circumstances of our own lives, however or wherever or whenever we meet the stranger, that like Brigid, we see the eyes of Christ looking out at us through other people's eyes. And I think that's the lovely quality I think that Brigid brings to our time and puts before us in these first years of the 21st century. So, whatever we read that, we'll try this together.
We'll try this together, yes.
See how it goes.
So this is a collect for St. Brigid, for the feast of St. Brigid. Father, by the leadership of your blessed servant Brigid, you strengthened the church in this land. As we give you thanks for her life of devoted service, inspire us with new life and light, and give us perseverance to serve you all our days. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Amen.
I don't know if any of you seen our social media today, but talk about a community coming together and then the business community coming together. But Maureen, that works up in Ollie Rouse's Jewellers, rang me the other day and said that she would like to donate on behalf of Rouse's Jewellers 2 pieces that Newbridge Jewellery have commissioned to celebrate St. Brigid's Day. So down they came today with the St. Brigid's Day cross. Now, it could be used, she said, as a decoration, or as the girls have it on a chain here. And also the Newbridge group have brought out a St. Brigid's Day pin. And I'm sure they're all for saying about the crosses. But it was just so lovely to see that they were taking heed of what we were doing and that they came down to offer that to us. So we just wanted to acknowledge that as well. One thing I would just like to acknowledge as well is here in the room we have 2 people at the back, a lady and gentleman there. They're from the Killala wool craft, so there is wool there at the back of John, and it comes from Irish Jacob sheep. So a lot of the knitting, am I saying that right? Yes. A lot of the knitting that you would have done, this would be where it started as raw. So thank you for coming in and bringing that in to show us, because we came in with balls of wool, but of course we forget the originality of it. And keep your eyes out for the Killala Woolcraft. They're going to be doing a lot of work with the Salmon Festival on Heritage Day this year. They're going to put a big crafting area together, so support them in any way you can. Okay, so Maggie Igo has come up with a song. So you're all going to be put to work singing, and she asked that everybody in the audience join in. Leo is going to play it. Yeah, right
This is actually it's a very simple song, and I actually found it from Michael Fortune in Wexford is a great folklorist, but it was actually written by a lady called Catherine Ann Cullen, and if you go on Michael Fortune's website you'll actually get the song, and there's lots of other lovely articles on it. So she wrote this song. It's very, very simple. I only found it today, so this is its first outing, and I just think it's so appropriate that all the women and gentlemen and whoever took part in making that amazing cloak. I think you all deserve a big round of applause, and hopefully you'll all sing along. Very simple tune. You'll all get it. There was a wise woman, we all agree. Some called her Brigid, some called of her breed. She grew up kind and she loved to joke, and she always wore a wee small cloak. That's it. All the verses. About 1500 years ago, this strong young woman took a dare she go to build a church with the common folk, with her 4 best friends and her wee small cloak. Now the King of Leinster had fields galore, so Brigid went knocking on his castle door. Will you give me a field by the old oak tree to build a church for my friends and me? Well, the mean old king, he gave a roar, saying, what kind of thing do you take me for? For nobody gets as rich as me by giving a field to the poor for free.
And on to the next page. We all
Brigid smiled with granted said, the land as far as my cloak will spread. The king laughed loudly at her joke, 'cause she wouldn't cover much with her wee small cloak. To see how far her cloak would reach, her 4 best friends took a corner each. When she shouted go, they all set forth, walking east and west and south and north. While the king was mad, he began to choke, and out of his ears came puffs of smoke. His mean old heart, well, it nearly broke when he saw the measure of Brigid's cloak. Rise it up now. But his heart was changed by Brigid's power, and his men built the chapel with the tall bell tower. Now they call it Kildare, the church of oak, on the land that was covered by Brigid's cloak.
well done, Maggie. I just want to acknowledge Maggie and Joe Corrie actually are stood behind me here. I think Siobhan and Tom, they were our first ever volunteers to join us here at the collection when we put a call out for volunteers back in 2010. And I think it speaks well for us that they're still with us, that they haven't wanted to leave, and both women are just amazing and they're like extra arms to us here. So thank you so much, ladies, we really appreciate it. And of course Leo now at this stage. So because we're in a building that covers 400 years of Irish history, I'd like, if you would bear with me, to actually, that reminds me to put my own on silent, to read something that our education facilitator, our new education facilitator, and our newest member of staff is at the back of the room there in that beautiful green dress, Celine Brennan. And Celine had borrowed from me a couple of my old hard drives when she joined us, and she found this on the hard drive and I completely and utterly forgot that it was there. It was written by another volunteer, so all our volunteers aren't actually based here in Ballina. We have a volunteer who's based in Kilkenny. So Niamh O'Sullivan was a barrister by trade, and she retrained as an Irish historian, and she worked as an archivist in Kilmainham jail for 14 years. Any of the content that you see in any of the cases that are around the building here, Niamh O'Sullivan done for us as a volunteer. Now she lives in Kilkenny. And she lives quite reclusely. She doesn't have apps on her phone, and she prefers to text than talk. But anyway, I gave her a ring over the weekend and she answered, and I asked if I could read this out. She said, oh yeah, absolutely. So she wrote it for a newspaper in Ohio. It was where she was born. So she was born there of Irish parents. Her mother's family came from Achill, and then as a teenager she moved to Holland, and she spent her teenage years until her father was sent to Dublin to work with the Irish Times. And Niamh wrote this for the Irish, really, in America, but I think it's lovely and it fits because we're in such a historical building here. So she wrote it in 2017 and she named it So Many Bridgets. So she says, I always look forward to February 1st, feast day of St. Brigid of Kildare. It marks the first day of the Celtic spring. Amongst Irish saints, Brigid is second only to her friend St. Patrick, whose preaching inspired her greatly. St. Brigid was born sometime around the year 450. She was an Irish nun and founder of several convents. There was some contradictory there because we also found she had a son, but we'll see no more about that. Most notably in Kildare Abbey. She died around 525, aged roughly around 70 years. St. Brigid is a patron saint of Ireland and also of many groups, including scholars, the poor and the babies. Born near Dundalk in County Louth, she is frequently depicted holding her own unique cross, which was specially woven together with rushes and sometimes even straw. People make these crosses for their houses even today, believing in their power to preserve homes from fire. This belief originated in the days when most dwellings belonged to the poor were constructed with thatched roofs. St. Brigid shares the name of and is often linked with an important Celtic goddess of fire, healing and childbirth. Both Brigids share the same feast day and potentially could be the same person. Today still, many places in Ireland reflect St. Brigid's name, and countless Irish women have been called after her through the ages. The name Brigid, B-R-I-D-G-T, the most popular spelling, can also be frequently found in the old registers of Kilmainham Jail. In honour of February and St. Brigid, here follows a brief account of some of the Brigids associated with the jail's history. I would first like to mention Brigid Needham. Her story is tragic, and I can't even quite succeed in totally evicting her from my mind. In 1879, the year Pierce was born, 30-year-old Brigid Needham, a prostitute from Church Street in Dublin, was sentenced to 1 month in Kilmainham for being drunk and disorderly. What makes her story so heart-wrenchingly sad is the small note that was written beside her name in the prison register. And bear in mind, this girl was the archivist, so she had access to all this. It reads 113 and refers to the number of times Brigid was already in prison. This unfortunate woman was served life by instalments. In the early years of Kilmainham's prison, we come across 2 young girls, Brigid Butterley, who was 19, and Brigid Ennis, who was 20. On May the 4th, 1821, the girls were hanged together above the entrance door of the prison, before an estimated crowd of 3,000 people, for their roles in a burglary during which a woman was killed. Scenes of great anguish in Kilmainham had preceded their deaths. It was reported that their terrified cries could be heard throughout the prison. The Governor, George Dunn, requested Mother Mary Aikenhead, who was the founder of the Sisters of Charity, to come to Kilmainham in an attempt to console the 2 girls before they were hung. During the years of the Great Famine, 1845 to 1852, 38-year-old Brigid Callahan found herself captive in Kilmainham for rooting potatoes. Many unfortunate souls were imprisoned during these hungry years for food-related offences such as stealing greens from a garden, onions from a farmyard, turnips from a field. The Vagrancy Act of 1847 made it illegal for people to beg. In 1860, 1 year before the American Civil War broke out, 11-year-old Brigid Kelly was sentenced to 14 days in Kilmainham, followed by 5 years in one of the newly established reform schools. These schools were first opened in 1859. Henceforth, County Dublin child prisoners would receive sentences of between 14 days and 4 months in Kilmainham Jail, followed immediately by 2 to 5 years in a reform school. Little Brigid had stolen 4 bibs and a wooden box for her baby sister. Kilmainham was used as a transportation depot for its opening in 1796 until the late 1850s when the practice ceased. Some 4,000 prisoners began their journey to Australia, or Van Diemen's Land, through Kilmainham. Limerick man John Sheehan was sentenced to 7 years transportation in 1842 for attacking the dwelling house of Patrick Burns and assaulting him with a pistol. Today it's believed Sheeran's act was carried out in an attempt to keep potatoes at an affordable price. Sheehan arrived in Tasmania in 1843 and was certified a free man in 1854. He married and settled in central Victoria Goldfield at Campbell's Creek, raising 9 children. One of his daughters was Brigid Sheehan, whose life was heavily influenced by a prison in Ireland that she would never ever see. After the 1916 Rising, Brigid Davis and Brigid Lyons were among 77 women briefly held in Kilmainham. Brigid Davis was a nurse in a uniform stationed in City Hall during the Rising, where she held her colleague Sean Connolly in her arms as he died. Brigid Lyons, a Galway medical student, fought in the forecourts. In the Civil War, Brigid Lyons, now a qualified doctor, held the rank of First Lieutenant in the medical services of the Free State Army. She became Free State Medical Officer in Kilmainham Prison. Many female prisoners of the anti-treaty side had been former colleagues of hers and some had been her fellow prisoners in Kilmainham after the Rising. In 1923, Brigid Connolly became a reluctant historian of Kilmainham's B Wing, which housed anti-treaty prisoners during the Civil War. Brigid left an excellent, albeit brief, account of the horrors of this oldest prison wing, writing, "Conditions are very bad. B Wing was unfit for habitation, rats were plentiful, and no light saved that of candles was available." Her colleague, Brigid Riley, wrote a fiercely political verse in the 1923 Kilmainham Prison autograph books. "May God above send down a dove, with wings as sharp as razors, to cut the heads of the Free State dogs who shot our Republican leaders." Brigid Brodie's family left her detention order to the Kilmainham Archives under the Free State's Public Safety Emergency Powers Act 1923. Minister for Defence, Richard Mulcahy, could further detain prisoners by signing their detention order. Brigid reads in part, "And whereas I am of the opinion that public safety would be endangered by the prisoners being set at liberty, now I, Richard Mulcahy, do hereby order and direct that the prisoners be detained in custody until further order." 11 of the Brigids among Kilmainham's prisoners, all with different lives, different loves, all named after St. Brigid. Happy St. Brigid's Day. So I have Joan Corrie to say a very short poem for us to welcome in the spring by Pat Inglesby called "Still Furled."
Still Furled by Pat Inglesby. If you listen really carefully in Fairview Park this morning, you will hear the daffodils, the very nearly daffodils, all of a tremble, whispering to one another, "Is it nearly time? Is it nearly time?" And one particularly anxious one whispering to her neighbour, "Remind me again, remind me again." Yellow.
Rounds up our gathering here. What we would love is our photographer John O'Grady is on site, that if we could have pictures with everybody who will allow us to take pictures with the Cloak for our own archives and for our own records of everybody that was involved. It'd be lovely for you to stay on. Obviously it'll take a few minutes to do that. Now upstairs we have Western Care. So every year Western Care would normally have a Kaylee house here in the Clarke for Christmas. But it didn't happen this year, so they came up with this great idea of having a spring awakening Kaylee. So that is happening upstairs if anybody wants to go and stick your head around the corner and have a listen. And we also have the youth projects group, the UBU, under Michelle Gallagher and Alice Dixon. And you may have noticed at Christmas we had a light projection onto the Lana Mineral Water Company. But all those wonderful young children and young adults have put together another series of images on St. Brigid, and that's going to be beamed across every evening until next Tuesday. So that's going to be launched upstairs, so anyone that wants to go and have a look at that, you're very, very welcome. And on that note, Maggie sent me just a few words today to wish me a happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Brigid's Day. See now, see, that's why we need to get used to it. So just to finish on it, and here it goes, and it's no disrespect to any man in this room, because you're all as lovely as us. But anyway, here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, and may we always rise up with them. So thank you everybody. There's still more tea and coffee and refreshments over there, so feel free to grab.